Welcome to Into the Fractal-verse with me. These videos are brought to you by G66 UK, where you can get Fractal FM3 Turbo, FM9 Turbo and Axe FX all in stock now as well. They've got a bunch of the really cool red sound cabs if you want to check those out. But yeah, G66 UK, the place to go. Now, I wanted to do a video today around sort of 4 lead amps that are exclusive to the Fractal-verse, but that are kind of doing what I really like in a lead amp without any extra help particularly. This comes from a conversation that I was having with the senior playtester at Mesa Boogie, interestingly enough, and I said there's a channel on the Nomad that I really like, channel 3. I mean, loads of other people kind of hate this amp, but I kind of like it. And I was like, is there anything that Mesa are making anymore that is somewhat similar or can do that sort of thing? Because it's not really a mark, it's not really a rectifier, it's sort of its own little thing. The Triple Crown is actually somewhat similar in a few ways, like the 3-channel thing. It's, yeah, kind of similar. This was one of the suggestions that he came up with. So that's where I started with this video. So you see we've got a very simple signal chain, just the amp, the cab. So the cab that I'm using here is going to be the Mesa Boogie C90. We've got a condenser here, relatively close to the center, and then we've got the dynamic 2 way off at the side for the kind of darker stuff. Then I'm just going into a digital stereo delay and then out. So we're not using pedals to get extra kind of help with these lead tones, which of course, if you start to involve other pedals, you can get great lead tones out of basically any of the amps in the Fractal-verse, but that's kind of a different video for a different day. Now, starting here with the Triple Crown, Triple Crest is what it's called here, channel 3, which is the kind of highest gain channel on the amplifier. There are a couple of little things that I kind of tweaked. I've switched it over to EL84s, and I've also upped some other aspect. What was it? In the power amp, I've turned up the negative feedback now. Kind of get a bit of a rawer feel with the negative feedback down lower, but I know that the Nomad does have a negative feedback in it which you could switch in or out, so that was why I kind of just increased that. So that is the Triple Crest. So the settings here, I've got the gain up very high. In the manual it does suggest that the higher the gain goes, the lower the bass should be. But like with many Mesa Boogie amplifiers, as you get the gain up higher, it also says in the manual, these controls become somewhat less effective. It's got this lovely kind of liquid feel. The manual also suggests sort of starting around here, but for me with a Strat, I'm using a Sir at the moment. Like it can do some really cool stuff still. For that really thick, creamy thing, you need the gain up a bit higher with a Strat. So maybe consider starting around 2 o'clock. If you've got a bit of a higher output guitar, then you might want to back this gain off. It's not quite marked, it's not quite rectifier, it is like this other flavour of Mesa Boogie, which to me is actually more what I look for from both of them. It's got this really chewy response to it. I just really dig that as an amp model. Right, now, moving on, we've got the Carol and Tucana Lead, which I've done a video on specifically. I did buy this amplifier in real life to see what it was like in real life. I think I'd kind of prefer the modelled version of it, to be honest with you. It sounds really great. The Tucana Lead, I think the Caroline stuff has got some kind of tricks learnt from Dumble, but also other stuff going on as well. A very smart chap. He also gets involved, or used to get involved, on the forum before he stopped making amplifiers eventually. But you can hear with this gain and overdrive, even up, there's like a lot of clarity. And more of the kind of pickup response and all of that sort of stuff, a bit more clarity is there with this amp model. So that for me is a little bit, you know, I think you can tell the difference. That's kind of crushing down some of those differences. But you're getting plenty of kind of string noise and all of that sort of dynamic type stuff with the Tucana Lead. Just really great stuff. I've done another video on the Carol and Tucana Lead, but I think it's quite an easy amp to dial in this context. You just dial in your gain to taste, and the bass, middle and treble sound pretty good where they are. That for me, kind of the balance is right. Yeah, so I think just everything at 5 kind of sounds great, and then you can adjust your gain and your overdrive to taste. I think this amp was sort of designed to be used live in like a cover band type context, and designed to be super versatile, so you can get loads out of it. So experiment with that gain and the overdrive. For me, again, I'm playing a Strat, relatively low output pickup, so I can kind of afford to crank. Okay, right, then moving on, we've got the Two Rock Jet 35. This is a little bit of an odd amp of theirs, not necessarily based on anything particular. It's got 2 channels. This is the higher gain channel with the preamp bypass, preamp boost, which comes from Dumble, essentially where you bypass the tone stack and then you get a bit of a gain boost. Bright switch 2. And that, again, for me, I've got the presence run all the way down. It just seems to be doing... all the things I like. Just thick, throaty, kind of hot-rodded, Dumbled type sound. Right, then, talking of Dumble, this is kind of my last choice here. And again, don't be afraid with this stuff. We are not going to damage any tubes by cranking this stuff. If you're a guy who doesn't use as much gain as this, of course, you'd set this way lower. But as I say, using a Strat and trying to push this thing into that really creamy liquid drive. I don't think the bright switch is going to be doing much once we get to this level of gain, but as you can see, I've just got that maxed out, and then you adjust the presence to taste 2.25 is where it's at the moment. Of course, you know, take it back down. You get a bit more of the kind of picking subtleties. So those are just 4 of my favourite kind of amps for this sort of thing. I think the one that really stands out for having the most clarity, as well as, you know, still getting this screaming thing, but being able to clean up a bit. Is probably that Tucana lead, but some great options, of course. Across the Fractal universe. So if you want to let me know your favorite options for this kind of thing, then feel free in the comments to you know, shout out your favorites. I guess you might want to consider something more martially. Of course, that would be an option. You've got other Dumbles. I think for the more modern stuff as well, the Archeon is a real great amplifier. I did try some of the train wreck type stuff for this, but I think it gets a little bit more hairy and less of this liquid feel. Maybe the Soldano stuff might be a good idea as well. And of course, you've got your other Mesa Boogie amplifiers. You've got your things like your Marks or the JP, which is also kind of Mark based as well, right? Those are some of the options that I've been trying out, and yeah, I think these 4 come out sounding really good. The Fox ODS based on a Fuchs, which is kind of dumbly, those are pretty good too. But I think these 4 come out sounding pretty balanced and seem to be in that sweet spot for me. And I think Tucana Lead, probably of all of them, might be the top. I'll catch you in another video soon. I hope that gives you something to kind of chew on. And yeah, I know we're told, you know, about gain not necessarily needing to be this high, but if you really want to kind of be a screamy legato boy, I think this kind of thing is totally fine. As long as you've got your cab set up so you don't get too much of the spiky stuff. And, you know, this probably is a comparable amount of gain to what you might get if you were using a pedal in front of a slightly driven or driven amplifier. So I think it's probably okay, isn't it? Probably. I'll drop this preset into the folder for those that want to check it out, into the Gumroad folder. If you've already bought that before, you should have saved the Google Drive link so that you can get the updates for free without paying again. But shoot me an email if that's not the case and I'll hook you up with that. Catch you in another video soon. Cheers for stopping by.